I do welcome you to Bible Times. I'm Willard Pless, and today we want to talk about the Jewish calendar, and that when we come to September the 22nd, that the year 5785 will end, and 5786 will begin. I don't know if you've looked at the Jewish calendar or not, but the Jewish calendar teaches us that the end time will be here at the end of 5785. That this sixth millennial, as we're in the sixth millennial now, will be shortened for 215 years, which would complete the sixth millennial. And the sixth millennial would go on, of course, until 6,000. That would be, I think, in 2240, year of 2240. But the Jewish calendar talks about how that this sixth millennial would come to its end in 5785. That it comes to its end. And we come to this time on September the 22nd. Here in 2025, we come to this end of the 5785, and 5786 begins. And so we know that the Jewish calendar teaches that Jesus will be coming soon. When 5785 comes, that'll be September the 22nd. That things are going to be happening and Jesus will be coming soon. That we learn that things are going to be happening, and we learn that Revelation 17 and 18 is talking about the crash of the economy, the economy that has been set up, and we learned that this is President Trump's beautiful bill, the big beautiful bill that was signed into law on July the 4th. And we're understanding that all of this is coming together. And when we come to September the 22nd, that this thing's going to speed up and begin to happen, and we know that in October the crash is going to take place, and then when we come to November the 22nd, that this will be the 62 year of President Kennedy's assassination, and President Trump will be taken down. Israel will cut him off. He's very much a part of Israel right now. And so when we come to November the 22nd, that they're going to cut President Trump off. And then this is when they're going to gather to flood Jerusalem. And we learned that these things are coming in September, October, November, and December and January. By January the 6th, that Jerusalem's going to be flooded like Capitol Hill was flooded on January the 6th in 2021. And we're just looking at what the Bible teaches and gives, and understand, and if you're not walking with Jesus like you need to and paying attention, you're not going to see things. See, the Bible teaches that He calls people, but people don't come. They go off another way. They go on their own. See, He came to the Garden of Eden and He called Adam and Eve, but they had chose to go another way. They wouldn't come out and walk with Him. And we do the same thing too. We make that choice too. He calls us. I know He called me back in 1968 when I was right at 25 years old, and I came and I began to walk with Him and listen and talk to Him, and I've been doing that now for 57 years. I've been studying and looking at things, and so if you don't walk with Jesus and fellowship with Him and sup with Him and at His table, and the Bible teaches this very much. When He fed the 5,000, He taught that you need to eat at His table. You need to eat His flesh and drink His blood, and that means to pay attention. And I know we all choose to go in our own way. And if He's called you, I don't care when it was, if it was 50 years ago, but you still haven't started walking with Him and talk to Him like you need to. But it's time you do that. You say, well, I was saved back in the 1950s or 1960 or 70 or 80 or whenever it was. See, that's when He called you. And but if you didn't begin to walk with Him and sup with Him and fellowship with Him, but you went off on your own, and you're still doing that, but you have been called, but eventually the time of the marriage supper of the Lamb is going to come. And when that time comes, even though you've been called many years, if you haven't started walking with Him, and see, that parable of the 10 virgins gave that indication. They were called a lot sooner than when the bridegroom was to show up. So God has called, and He called me back in 1968. And you might say, well, did you kind of go on your own a little bit? Yes, I did. We've all done that. See, Jesus taught when He came to John the Baptist and to be baptized, and of course He didn't need repentance, but He's doing it to show us. He's showing us righteousness, how to be righteous and walk with Him, fellowship, and then the baptism means that we're going to lay the flesh away, and we're going to sup with Him and walk with Him and fellowship with Him. But see, if we don't do that, then we're not given the Spirit, but we've been called. And you can go on for many, many years, have been called, but you haven't been willing to attend the wedding. You may have been like those that make excuses, which you are like those that make excuses if you haven't walked with Him and paid attention and be a part, and you're just like those that refuse back in the parables that Jesus taught in Matthew chapter 22 and in Matthew chapter 25, and you can go the Luke's Gospel chapter 14 and see Luke's Gospel in chapter 14. That's when Jesus taught it in Galilee. And then when you come to Matthew chapter 22, that this is when he taught it there in Judea after he rode the little donkey into Jerusalem. And he taught the parable of the 10 virgins after he taught that in Judea. See, you have to learn where Jesus is at when he's teaching something. And he taught about the marriage supper several times. He taught it in Galilee, that Luke gives about in chapter 14. And then in Judea, he taught it in Matthew chapter 22. And that's the reason they're different. They're not word for word. See, you can teach on the same subject in different places, but you won't say the same words. It'll be different, and that's the way it was in the Bible. But see, the Bible reference puts it together, but see, those two were not given at the same time, and you have to realize that. That's the reason the Bible is different. Matthew and Mark and Luke, they talk about the ministry in Galilee mostly. And the book of John talks about the ministry of Jesus in Judea. The book of John talks about when Jesus goes to Jerusalem for the feast times for the first year. See, Jesus only taught publicly for the first year of his ministry. The next 2 years he was in the wilderness teaching the disciples and those that would come to him there. And he wasn't allowed to come back to the temple or the synagogue and until the time that he was to be crucified, that he came back and went to Jerusalem then and was crucified. The scriptures were fulfilled. And you have to understand what the Bible is talking about, what the Bible's giving. You gotta be able to kindly put things together and learn what Jesus is teaching and what he's talking about. Not just only what he said and what he did, but what is he saying and what is he doing. Learn the meaning of things. If you don't walk with him, and he will call, but if you don't walk with him, you're not going to know the meaning of things. You can know the scriptures, you can read the Bible and talk about the things that went on there, but you're not going to know the meaning of the things. You're not going to see the things that I've been talking about and people have been pushing away and saying you can't see these things, you can't know them, but you can. I'm amazed myself when I listen to my own video about what I'm able to say and what I'm able to talk about. And see, the only way I can understand that and talk about it is to fellowship with Jesus. That's the only way. Daniel couldn't have known and understood the things that God was giving him and the visions and the dreams and so forth unless he gave him the meaning of them, the interpretation of them. So that's the way the Bible is. If you don't walk with Jesus, you're not going to know the meaning of things. So you're going to have to start walking with him in order to know the meaning of these things. You can push it away and walk away if you want to, but it's a bad thing to do that. You need to get in here and walk with him, and it don't do any good to walk with me. You got to walk with him, fellowship with him, talk to him. And I hope you do that, because that's the most important thing. I'm just trying to help you get to going in the right direction is all I'm trying to do. And I hope you'll do that and turn to him and talk to him and begin to walk with him. You may have been walking for self for many years, but now it's time to walk with him and be able to see what's going on in this world. And I hope you'll do that. And God bless you, and you have a great day.